those of you who are here for the Sandwiching and History Tour, I'm Ralph Wilcox, National Register and Survey Coordinator of the Arkansas Historic Preservation Program. I'd like to thank you all for coming, and would like to thank the Department of Arkansas Heritage, the Martin Luther King Commission, and the Arkansas Health Permitting Agency for allowing us to tour the building today. The tour is worth 1 hour of continuing education credit through the American Institute of Architects. If you're interested in that, see me after the tour. I am going to do an abbreviated version because it is already 12:30. So I'm going to start actually talking about the Mosaic Templars building. The headquarters building, which is at the corner of 9th and Broadway, was dedicated on May 18th of 1913, and the building was finished by October 15th of that year. However, as the Mosaic Templars organization grew, another building was needed, and a 2-story annex was built to the south of the headquarters in 1918. Although the annex was built in 1918, it was only a couple of years until a third building, the Mosaic State Temple, was built in 1921. The fact that the organization had real property in the form of a national headquarters, annex, and state temple was highly unusual for an African-American fraternal organization. With respect to the State Temple, the history of the Mosaic Templars of America said that the erection of the National Temple was only the beginning of the plan to erect such buildings in each state's jurisdiction. Since the inception of the idea, the states of Arkansas, Alabama, and Louisiana have purchased sites and erected buildings that are creditable to any institution. The states of Texas, Tennessee, and Oklahoma have also purchased sites and planned the early erection of suitable buildings. These various temples are used for the housing of the state officials, as well as producing a revenue for each respective jurisdiction. In order to finance the building operations of these structures, a per capita tax was assessed, and in this way, no outside aid had ever been solicited. The combined cost of the real estate and buildings belonging to these various jurisdictions represent an investment of $280,000, which is included in the total assets of the order. The Mosaic Templars State Temple was designed by African-American architect Walter Thomas Bailey, who was born in Kewanee, Illinois on January 11, 1882, to Emmanuel and Lucy Reynolds Bailey. After graduating from Kewanee High School, Bailey began studies at the University of Illinois in Champaign in September of 1900. Bailey began studies at the University of Illinois in Champaign in September of 1900. He studied in the architectural program at the university, and he was also a member of the Students' Architects Club. Bailey graduated from the University of Illinois in June of 1904 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in architecture, and on October 15th of 1904, he married Josephine L. McCurdy. The couple would have 2 daughters, Edith Hazel, born in 1905, and Alberta Josephine, born in 1913. He studied in the architectural program at the university, and he was also a member of the Students' Architects Club. Bailey graduated from the University of Illinois in June of 1904 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in architecture, and on October 15th of 1904, he married Josephine L. McCurdy. The couple would have 2 daughters, Edith Hazel, born in 1905, and Alberta Josephine, born in 1913. Bailey's professional career began in 1904 when he worked as a draftsman in the office of Henry Eklund, and he had returned to Champaign by February of 1905 when he worked for a short time with the firm of Spencer and Temple. However, his career really got a boost in September of 1905 when he became the head of the Mechanical Industries Department, as well as the supervisor of the architectural and planning aspects of the Tuskegee Institute in Tuskegee, Alabama. In 1916, Bailey opened his own architectural practice in Memphis, Tennessee, where he specialized in designing churches. He also landed many commissions through business contacts with lodges of the Knights of Pythian, a notable African-American fraternal organization, and it ultimately led to Bailey attaining the commission for the National Pythian Temple in Chicago, an 8-story building that was planned to be the national headquarters of the Knights of Pythian. The building was estimated to cost more than $1 million, and it was touted to be the largest building financed, designed, and built by African Americans. As a result of the building's construction, Bailey moved his practice to Chicago in 1924. Even though the African American business community in Chicago was known for sponsoring new buildings, Bailey received few large commissions during the period. Rather, his practice focused on smaller commercial, church, and remodeling projects. Bailey's practice shrank further during the Great Depression, and his last major design was the 1939 design for the first Church of Deliverance in Chicago, an Art Moderne church design that was radically different than most ecclesiastical buildings of the period. The career of Walter Thomas Bailey was cut short when he died at the age of 59 on February 21st, 1941, from pneumonia that was the result of complications from heart disease. At the time of his death, Bailey was still working on two projects, the interior remodeling of the Olivet Baptist Church and a design for the Ida B. Wells Homes, a large public housing project in Chicago for African Americans. The contractor for the Mosaic Templars State Temple was Simeon "Sim" Johnson, a local black contractor here in Little Rock. Johnson had already built at least one building of similar size in the area, the Taborian Hall on West 9th Street, which was built between 1916 and 1918. Interestingly, a notice in the November 17, 1921 edition of the manufacturer's record also indicated that in Arkansas and Little Rock, Sim Johnson will erect additional story to a building at 802 West 9th Street at the cost of $19,000. However, it is unknown if that work was ever carried out. Given the fact that Johnson was an African-American contractor that had already built at least one building of similar size and complexity in the area, made him a perfect choice for the job of building the Mosaic Templars State Temple. The building permit for the construction of the building was issued in February of 1921, and the Arkansas Gazette reported in March that February was a good month for the builders, especially the home builders. The records at the Department of Public Works show that 173 permits were granted during the month for a total of $185,070 worth of work. Among the permits issued in February was a permit to Sim Johnson to build a two-story fireproof building at 906 Broadway for $88,774. Once the permit was issued for the construction of the building, it was not long until the work began. However, reports on the construction of the building were few and far between in the newspaper. The next article didn't appear until May of 1921, which reported that one of the largest building operations now well underway in Little Rock has been more than half completed, with only slight notice having been given it. The Mosaic Templars of America jurisdiction of Arkansas, a Negro fraternal organization, are erecting a building at 9th Street and Broadway at a cost of $100,000. Construction was started about March 1st, and workmen already are at work on the second story of the building. The structure will be a two-story brick building covering a lot of 50 feet by 140 feet. The building will contain office suites, storerooms, and a large lodge hall. It is expected that the building will be ready for occupancy within 90 days. It is not known exactly when the building was completed or dedicated, but the organization likely moved into the building by the end of 1921. During the 1920s, the Mosaic Templars reached its peak when it had a membership that was estimated at over 100,000 people. Chapters of the organization existed in 26 states, the Caribbean, and South and Central America. However, even with the phenomenal growth of the Mosaic Templars, the organization always kept its headquarters here in Little Rock. Some of its holdings in Little Rock included the Mosaic National Building and Loan Association, the Mosaic State Hospital, which also had a nursing school, and the Mosaic Guide newspaper, which was originally known as the American Guide. The Mosaic State Hospital, which was a 30-bed hospital, was located on the second floor of the Mosaic Templars State Temple and opened in 1927 after the failed attempt of the Mosaic Templars to construct a national hospital in Hot Springs. The hospital was under the direction of Dr. John G. Thornton, but only lasted a short time, closing in 1932. The nursing school associated with the hospital was chartered in 1929. However, the phenomenal growth in size that the Mosaic Templars achieved in the 1920s was short-lived. The 1930s brought the demise of the Mosaic Templars of America, which, like many organizations, felt the effects of the Great Depression. The organization went into receivership in 1930, but did resume operations later in the year as the modern Mosaic Templars of America, with Scipio Jones serving as the National Grand Scribe. However, by the end of the 1930s, it appears that the organization had ceased to exist in Arkansas. Even so, the organization continued to exist internationally, with a chapter of the British United Order of Mosaic Templars surviving in Jamaica until at least 1938, and the Grand United Order of Mosaic Templars of Barbados, West Indies, continuing to meet into the 21st century. It is not entirely clear when the Mosaic Templars vacated the State Temple building. The 1939 Sanborn map for Little Rock indicates that the Mosaic Templars State Temple was being used as offices, but it is not clear if it was offices for that organization. However, by 1950, according to the Sanborn map, the building was a small animal hospital, and it continued to be used in that capacity until at least 1992. Most recently, the building was used as a medical clinic by Premier MRI before purchase of the building by the Department of Arkansas Heritage in 2017. The Department of Arkansas Heritage renovated the building, and it now houses leased office space, as you heard this morning. Of the three buildings that the Mosaic Templars of America had at the corner of 9th and Broadway, the State Temple is the last surviving historic building on the site. The National Grand Temple, which was located at the corner, burned on March 16, 2005, and the annex, which was located immediately to the north of this building, burned in 1984. However, both the National Grand Temple and annex were rebuilt in 2007 and opened on September 20th of 2008 as the Mosaic Templars Cultural Center, a museum of the Department of Arkansas Heritage. The survival of the Mosaic Templars State Temple makes it an important part of the legacy of the significant and prominent Mosaic Templars of America organization. Thank you again, and have a good weekend.